Greetings, friends and fiends, and welcome to The Keep. I am Lindsey the Keeper, and it is my duty to protect this reality from eldritch horrors by reading tales from r/RPG horror stories. It is good to be back here. Sorry for the long wait. You know how it is when you're going through a new transition. But hopefully I can try and be on a normal schedule, whatever that means. But there could be changes in the future. But let's not worry about that for now. If you do want to show how much you have missed me for the last couple of weeks or so, please hit the like button, subscribe, and comment on what your favorite pastime is when not playing TTRPGs. So originally, I was going to find a couple of long stories and read them from r/RPG horror stories, but because I want to sort of ease back into my hot seat, I decided to do 3 Am I the A-hole stories, all from the RPG horror story in r/Am I the A-hole style. Now, if you're new to Reddit and never heard of it, I highly recommend taking a peek at it. We get to basically judge OP's story if they are either not the a-hole, you're the a-hole, everybody's sexier, no a-hole here, or not enough information, of which the last 2 are a bit rare. So, without further ado, just sit back, relax, and cuddle up to your favorite tendril as we dive in on these stories. Enjoy! The first story is written by Kei Rokon with the title, Am I the A-hole for not allowing a player to join the bad guys and railroading them? I don't know if I'm a bad DM for this, but I put my foot down recently and didn't allow someone to join the Xanathar Guild. No one else was on board and they wanted to find the treasure, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, without the help of a paranoid beholder. Since the party clashed with the Xanathar before, I knew it would lead to party conflict and tons of issues that could potentially end the whole campaign, as I've read in previous RPG horror stories. I even told them that if they went through with this, they would become an NPC. They kind of argued a bit, but they were malicious, which I was relieved by, but they eventually understood and let it go. I'm very much on guard for these things, but now I run into the risk of railroading and taking away player agency. Okay, OP, to start with the highlight of this, which I think people will agree with me on, is you are not the a-hole. You are actually doing your job as DM without taking that player agency. Normally, for one to take player agency is when a DM basically tries to restrict them to a point that the player cannot breathe or forces that character into situations that the player normally would never have their character do. Instead, you gave the advice and warned them that, hey, if you go with this plan, this will happen. Plus, down in the comments, there are a ton of people who had their own experiences when someone decided to go join Team Xanathar. Although that sounds a hell of a lot better than being on Team Edward or Team Jacob. Just saying. The second story is written by Confident Boss 6585 with the title, Am I the a-hole for lying about why our campaign ended? I was DMing for 10 sessions when I decided to cancel the campaign. We were all looking for very different things out of the game. Some of the worst examples of playstyle difference were the players insisted on PvP during session 0 because it is realistic. When it happened, it broke party unity and made it difficult to keep the party together and moving in the same direction. One player literally tried to unalive another player for betraying the party. The players played characters that were quite passive/specters. A lot of times the characters would end up going in circles narratively. They played characters that did not really buy into the initial premise much so. It felt quite aimless a lot of the time. I was having zero fun and prep was a chore, so I made up an excuse that I was busy with work and had too much on my plate to run a game at the moment. I gave a blameless end to the campaign. The players were disappointed, but understood. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I'm playing in a long-running different game with one of my ex-players. During conversation, it came up that I am still DMing another game on a different night. My ex-player was like, "Oh, I thought you were too burnt out to DM." And there was an awkward silence around the table. I made up an excuse how it was a long-running campaign and it had great rhythm, but I don't think he believed me. I didn't go much further than that, but I do feel bad. He has been a bit cold towards me ever since. Am I the a-hole here? So in the comments, it is sort of split into, "You're not an a-hole for being burnt out," to, "Yeah, you are kind of an a-hole for not speaking the truth." However, I found one comment that had a fantastic metaphor. Here's a terrible metaphor. Telling the truth up front can feel like a punch in the face, but keeping up a lie is like stepping on Legos non-stop. Being honest is a lot easier than maintaining a lie. That aside, I personally would take it better if you told me that the group dynamic just wasn't working for you. I fully agree with this comment. I would rather my DM tell me the truth that the campaign wasn't working out to my face than them lying behind my back, just so they don't hurt my feelings. Would my feelings be hurt regardless if it is upfront or not? Sure, but it would hurt more if they tried to lie about it, because at that moment, how can I trust you in any future events or future games? OP, you are a tiny bit of an a-hole, but this is an easy lesson to learn. The final story is written by Protection Horror 53 with the title, "Am I the a-hole for not letting Werewolf PC use silvered weapons?" Self-explanatory, not exactly a horror story, but rather an annoying occurrence that's happened last session. Curse of Straws, it seems to be a standard fare for these stories. One of my PCs has been going through various stages of lycanthropy after being bitten by a werewolf. He seemed to be embracing it as he began to have extremely vivid nightmares and was role-playing the extreme hunger for meat rather well, receiving gifts in return, increased strength, speed, etc., for embracing his feral instincts. However, during the last session at battle, he attempted to attack the monster with his silvered rapier, and I describe as searing pain that coursed through his body as he came in contact with the weapon, forcing him to drop it to the ground. At the mention of this, he became obviously annoyed and frustrated, arguing that his attack should go through. I said no, that the ability to touch silver was a fair trade-off for the benefits that he receives, and it makes sense for lycanthropes to lack the ability to wield weapons made out of the very metal that they were weak to. He kind of just mumbled something under his breath and shut down for a bit. It was awkward, but things eventually picked back up. After the session, I asked the other players if I was in the wrong, and they agreed that he overreacted, but that I should compromise, making him have a saving throw and take some damage to use the silver blade. I get where they were coming from, but I feel like that would just slow things down with all the extra rolling that he would have to do already. It's not a major issue, but I just want to know if I was at fault as a DM for not attempting to compromise. Before I read the edit, I just want to give my opinion real quick for those who do end up having a similar situation like this. There will be times where something, like a player wanting to become a vampire or a hag, can get benefits for accepting the gifts, but in exchange, they are weak to something else. It makes sense in terms when it comes to power. Think about it. Werewolves are incredibly strong, have great primal instincts, and can take a hit. But they are weak to silver, lose control on full moons, etc. Or, like vampires, they are more beings who live on drinking blood, or something else depending on said vampire. But in exchange, holy ground hurts them, sunlight hurts them, etc. The point is, you are an a-hole for not only dropping this in mid-combat, which by the way, dick move, but not given a chance to compromise. But luckily, OP's edit has some hope of learning from their mistakes. This got a bit more traction than I was expecting. I agree that dropping it on him mid-combat may not have been the best move. I did try to hint beforehand that this could happen, though I guess I could have done better. I see a lot of people mentioning that the pommel and handle weren't silvered, so he should be able to use it. That feels more like a cop-out or loophole to my personality. This also isn't his only means of defense, as he is a paladin, so he could still smite. I think what I will do is allow him to use it for now, but with a catch. The way I am doing it, he is not a full werewolf yet, so perhaps when the night of the full moon comes and his transformation is complete, that's when I'll say silver is off the table. In the meantime, I will work on giving him an opportunity to receive an alternative weapon that he can use. Maybe the werewolf clan or the Vicini will have something for him. I believe we have learned something from each of the stories. Story 1 taught us that it is okay to give good guidance and advice to players so they don't make their characters into NPCs. Story 2 taught us that being honest from the beginning will save a lot of baggage in the future. And Story 3 taught us that compromising is the key to saving a game, especially a game like Curse of Strahd. And I hope you all take these lessons to heart. We may not be perfect at times, but it is a good learning experience when you want to become a DM or even a player to one of these games, no matter what game that might be. Now that the story is over and reality is still in a state of calm, I'm going to depart for now. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos. If you have your own horror stories or some TTRPG randomness you'd like me to discuss, contact me through my email, Twitter, or subreddit. Until then, I will see you in the next video.